Bismillah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the gift from Allah, who came in the person of Master Farah Muhammad, to whom all praise are due forever. And he is the extension and representative of the exalted Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He is the gift in our midst in this time of suffering and pain. Thank you for tuning in. Today is December 15th, 2023. We are live at Open Signal, Portland, Oregon, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I want to always thank Open Signal for allowing this program to be so consistent on their airwaves throughout the years. I want to always thank our brother Daniel for coming to help us to consistently cablecast or broadcast these messages to our people, and to the others who will listen or who want to listen. I greet you in the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. It only means may peace be unto you in Arabic. Our topic today will be these words: requisite questions, clear explanations, and inexhaustible wisdom. The resurrection of us, then others. So if you are familiar, we're going to give out some important websites a little bit later. If you are familiar with us, you know that we do not see the resurrection as people rising from the grave or physical death. We see it as a mental and spiritual elevation and spiritual improvement of a people to make them come from a dead level of inactivity, where their potential is buried, to a kinetic level of activity and spiritual growth, and becoming developing the gods or the God within. So we want to deal with a lot of questions that is pertinent to this time. We want to deal with explanations that actually show why things are explained, but often we don't hear the explanation, so we go on in a certain way with a certain attitude that's not proper because we haven't heard and we need to hear. Inexhaustible wisdom, because it is being proven daily, has been proven, and more things are unfolding to actually show that what God in person, Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all holy praise are really due forever, taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is the truth and the supreme wisdom, okay? And the revelation that the whole world has been waiting for, to bring in a new world order based on righteousness and truth, instead of wickedness and a society making us or causing us to bow to our low desires. So we are studying this through all of our ups and downs, ebbs and flows, to become better at life no matter what trials we are going through. So that's our topic, with the subtopic of the resurrection of us, then others. Okay? Those words are very important. We must never forget that the first organization is the human being, and that the basic unit of any community or society is a single person. The basic unit of any community or society is a single person. We have 9 systems. When we talk about resurrection, we are talking about the complete enlightenment of the human being. You know, when the Buddhists say that they are Buddha because this man that was named Buddha, that was the enlightened one. Well, you know, we are on that path of allowing the human being to be enlightened about their whole being. So we cannot talk about the resurrection or talk about what kind of questions we should really ask, or talk about, you know, why something being explained to us is clear, and why wisdom is is not to be exhausted. We can't talk about these or get the person to actually grasp what we are saying, except that they understand the whole person of them and why their whole person has to be dealt with from their own studies and from their own learning. And there are 4 ways of learning. But so the resurrection of us and others, we have 9 systems. We have 9 systems. We have the skeletal system. We have the digestive system. We have the lymphatic system. We have the muscular system. We have the respiratory system. We have the endocrine system, the nervous system, the circulatory system, and the reproductive system. All of these work together with the brain. Okay? Now, living in this wicked world where they make denatured and artificial food and so forth, where people do not actually learn how to eat to live so that they can actually know how not to put things in their bodies that do not allow them to grasp. Because there are people, no matter what religion you are, no matter what philosophy you have accepted and so forth, if you do not learn the importance of the 9 systems and what you put in to these systems that allow your mind to look at concepts and see it properly for your benefit, we will lose. So this is a thorough subject that we can't even do justice to in this hour, but we're going to give some websites. And as always, our universal website is noi.org. Okay? Our universal news engine, information engine, is finalcall.com. And we're going to get some other ones, very important ones, before we end today, Allah willing. This wicked world aims to keep our 9 systems in unhealthy states and in disrepair. Listen to what I'm saying. This wicked world, which is really the white man's world. Okay. Now some say, well, that's racist, or that's like pulling a race card. No. What we are looking at is a economy and a rulership of a people that was allowed for 6,000 years. Now it's being interfered with. This is why the American domestic policies and foreign policies and geopolitics is all over the world, because this is the head of a world that we're in. And this is the white man's world with his imp. Whether we like it or not, we have Negroes we have Negroes in this day and time that has not become enlightened yet. And really, a lot of times, fear stops them from looking within themselves and being like, okay, let me look at who I really am. Because even though I have to be in the enemy's world and function in this world to survive and so forth, I can still get a clear perception that I'm in this world, but I shouldn't be of it, because things are changing. But there are some Negroes that is in that mind frame so deep that they are unwitting enemies of their own community and home life. They are really troubled people, but we all just have to learn, and in that learning, our topic, requisite questions, clear explanations, and we are to expose ourselves to inexhaustible wisdom. So we talked about the unhealthy 9 systems, and they are in disrepair. Think about it like this. The word disrepair, a simple definition is, it means your poor structure, your poor body structure due to neglect. Due to neglect. Many of us don't have the knowledge that whatever, how can I say this? What Dr. Alim always said, you are what you ate yesterday. and many of us are not really keen about, we our life, our thinking habits, our sleeping habits, our day-to-day function on elevated thoughts or on lower thoughts. It all contributes to what we put in our body and what we keep from putting in our body. So this is all very important to the resurrection. So the most important 6 words that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to the people, that God told him. Now some people are still tripping, or are they still stumbling over when we say God in person? Well, it's really easy because God is not a spook in the sky, and God is power and force, and God works through human beings. We are not saying that, as the minister said some years ago, I forget what Savior's Day it was, we are not saying that Master Fard Muhammad, the God in person, through whom all holy praise are due forever, we're not saying that he is the originator of the heaven and the earth, because he was born in 1877. But the person, the power of God, is always working through the human being. Okay? So that should be clear for us as to why the Bible says that the Son of Man will come from the east to the west. That should be clear to us why in the thinking process of Islam, or the prophecies, I would say, of Islam from the Holy Prophet Ibn Abdullah, he said that Islam will rise in the West in the last days. Well, Islam does not rise, and nor does the Son of Man come from the east to the west, except that it's a human being speaking it, that will initiate it, that will begin the actual power of the revelation and the truth to actually go about its work of bringing in a totally new world called the hereafter. Because the hereafter is not something that you go to when you're dead. The hereafter is, as we are taught simply, here on this earth after the destruction of God's enemy, or the destruction of that temporary power that has ruled for the last 6,000 years. So, accept your own and be yourself. Remember that. Remember those 6 words. That's the most important 6 words you will ever hear. It takes you on a very thorough and deep study of yourself. It's not just a history book. It's not just a health article or a medical book and so forth. It's not just a book on astronomy. It's all of those combined with revelation, with what God himself has brought on the scene to unfold our consciousness into becoming images of righteousness and good, for after so long of being victimized and bowing to our low desires. Okay? We can't truly unite collectively with others until we ourselves are united internally. This comes by asking questions and learning all about ourselves. This comes by reading, hearing clear explanations. This comes by being exposed to inexhaustible wisdom, which greatly, now hear this. This comes by being exposed to inexhaustible wisdom, which greatly sophisticates in our lives the 4 ways of learning. The 4 ways of learning are reading, observation, conversation, and experience. Experience most often involves suffering, and what some might call undeserved suffering. Remember, in the Bible, it talks about Jesus, that though he were a son, yet he learned obedience by the things which he suffered. Though he were a son, yet he learned obedience by the things he suffered, by which he suffered. Now, let's get into some explanations. The word requisite, talking about requisite questions, okay? The word requisite. It means made necessary by particular circumstances or regulations. A requisite question is an inquiry that is necessary for further exploration. Did he ask the right question? If he did, why? If he didn't, why not? The word explanation, a statement or account that makes something clear. An apologia is a more profound explanation. Apologia means or implies not admission of guilt or regret, but a desire to make clear the grounds for some course, belief, or position. This is why those of us who strive to stand with the stance, S-T-A-N-C, of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, we are continuing to show the misinformation and the disinformation that has been put as a cover over us, because the enemy of God tries his best, or he will keep up the effort until he just can't do it anymore, to keep the people from realizing that their time is up to rule, to keep the people from realizing that there is a knowledge that usurps and will is uprooting all that they have introduced to us as a lifestyle, but it's really a death style. Okay, so an apologia implies not admission of guilt or regret, but to make clear the grounds for some course, belief, or position. So, in a nutshell, this is why, and you have to study to understand this. This is why the Nation of Islam does everything right and exact. You know, that seems like a incredible statement. You know, we do everything right and exact. That's not saying. Well, we get into the definitions of those words, NOI, Nation of Islam, a little bit later. But that's not saying that mistakes are not made. But it's something very deep to be understood about that. Okay? The word wisdom, the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of being wise. The Holy Quran reads, if all the trees in the earth were pens, and the sea with 7 more seas added to it were ink, the words of Allah would not be exhausted. Surely Allah is mighty wise. Okay? Wisdom. Now, think about this. Understanding revolves around the meaning of knowledge, and wisdom is the application of what you understand, or what we understand. So there is some good wisdom, there is some excellent wisdom, there is some fair wisdom. But again, understanding revolves around the meaning of knowledge, and wisdom is the application of what you understand. Now the Holy Quran talking about questions and requisite questions. Okay, Holy Quran said they cannot bring thee a question, but we have brought thee the truth in the best explanation. Those who will be beguiled to hell on their faces, they are in an evil plight and straying further away from the path. When we soak in definitions and meanings, we have a good chance to guide ourselves into better behavior, and then catching ourselves, from continuing to repeat behavior that really has not helped us. I was commenting on a Facebook post early this morning, and the brother posted about continuing to work and get better and so forth. He posted about us keep going when it comes to making mistakes, and I posted, I remember this vividly, man. And I think about it sometimes. I remember that I was riding in this city. I was riding in the passenger seat in a car with a Nation of Islam pioneer, and we was just talking and so forth. And he was telling me things and so forth. And I began to just complain about just not really having too much strength in myself, and I began to complain about I should study that, and I should begin to do this more. Just a lot of complaints and stuff, and I was just talking, and he was just listening. Then and then at one moment, I'll never forget this, man. At one moment, he just looked over to me. And he said, "Brother, forgive yourself." And I really thought about that. I'm like, okay, yeah. So that is why the Holy Quran talks about the mental elevation of people, and how hearts can go from one state to a higher and higher state when it comes to grasping truth, if we just stay continuous. And that is all a part of being patient with ourselves. So look, let us look at these words, evil plight, and straying further away or farther from the path. Again, this ayah or this verse reads, those who will be gathered to hell on their faces, they are in an evil plight and straying farther away from the path. Check this out. A plight is a dangerous, difficult, or otherwise unfortunate situation. Straying farther is to wander away as from the correct path or from a given area, to wander haphazardly, to digress from the point, to lose concentration. Man, to lose concentration. This is why the Holy Quran, the Holy Quran never tells us. And remember that the Holy Quran is not, it's a book for those who believe and keeps their duty. It's not necessarily a book for those who call themselves Muslim. It's not. That probably sounds weird, but no, the Holy Quran says that whoever believe is Christian, Muslim, or Sabian, they had their reward with their Lord. Okay, so we are not here to quote unquote convert or bring you into a religion. Because truth is our birthright wherever we are at. So I was gonna say, the Holy Quran never says. Never say it talks about believers this, believers that, but the Holy Quran never says only believers mind or are mindful. Never says that. It always says only men of understanding mind, and of course that means women too. Understanding is different from, or is a higher quality of a believer, And there is a such thing, whether we like it or not. This brought to mind a article I read, and I still study and try to go over, from scriptural scientist Jibril Muhammad. His article or column is in the final column newspaper, Farrakhan and Traveler, where he wrote an article about can a believer be a wicked believer? Whoa, real talk. He brought up a point about when he was a minister back in the 60s up in Oakland, California, that he was teaching, he was going about teaching and so forth, and the believers started to complain. Listen to this. The believers started to complain that he used too much Bible and Holy Quran in his speeches. In his, and Jibril Muhammad wrote that he went to the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with that, and said, they're saying this, that, and the other. And then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, did his investigation or whatever, or talks with them and so forth. And Brother Jibril Muhammad said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, brother, you keep going the way I taught you to go, because those believers, their hearts are too wicked right now. That's heavy, man. That's heavy. Okay, so listen to this. By purification and properly organizing our mind, our heart, our soul as individuals, we set the stage for perfectly organizing ourselves as a community, nation, and international family around talents, skills, interests, and systems. Self-improvement, the basis for the development of our communities. So, we're on this course of self-improvement, okay? We are getting ready for the new leadership. We are getting ready for what God promised us, particularly, and then others who are right. But the black man and woman particularly, we are being developed for real, true rulership, okay? No matter what these enemies have done to us, and are still trying to do, they're going to lose it all. Because they deserve to lose it all. In front of our face, they act as though we are supposed to be the kind of people that let the past be the past, even though they are standing on the advantages of taking advantage of us. They're crazy, man. And we're going to talk about some of the things that they have done and still are doing. When it comes to gentrifying the community or stealing land and so forth, okay? What did they call that back in the day? Let me find the exact term here. Let me see. I think it's lost land because of what they made up as they call eminent domain and so forth. All over the country, where they took our land and then they put us in a worse condition, and then they let immigrants in, and then they give the opportunity. And then the immigrants being so ignorant, thinking that, how come these guys are not doing anything for themselves and so forth? That condition was engineered in us, but now the reverse of that is happening on a large scale, and we are about to progress at a speed that will shock the whole world. I want to mention that about taking land and eminent domain, how they make up these laws, and then they take the land. And just recently, listen to this. Just recently, there's a civil rights lawyer. We're familiar with him, Benjamin Crump. Okay, him and his legal team now has taken on a case for Portland black people. This is recently, okay? He has taken on this case. I'm going to find that so I can read that specifically, okay? I'm going to find that. He has taken on this case where our enemies here in this city. Yeah, here we go. This is on Benjamin Crump. His I think it's his IG or his Twitter. He posted this. So he is taking on this case with his legal team and suing Portland and the whole Emmanuel Hospital area and so forth. Okay? Because of what they have discovered and found. Damn near over 170 black families, their land was stolen and so forth, and then in the generations and so forth. Well, it's the whole explanation of it. They have this all over the country. But anyway, though, okay, on this post, Benjamin Crump, Albina neighborhood displacement lawsuit against City of Portland Legacy Emmanuel can proceed. Judge rules. Okay, this is recent. I think like 4 days ago. So this is marching on. Okay, but there's a lot more marching on too. That is going down around the country. No matter what you try to do to make people see something else as important, the whole world will see that the whole world's problem. The whole world's problem is wrapped up in the black man and woman here in America not being given justice, or plight not being addressed. The whole world will not have no peace until our problem is solved. That is correct. This is why the Hebrew Israelites, even though I don't agree with all of their exegesis, the Hebrew Israelites, the brothers that be on the corner, preaching and talking and so forth, this is why they always talk about the Bible and we are God's people, and the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of and so forth. You see, all of this knowledge is to be implanted as we move on to a whole different new world order. Like it or not. We have never said, now get this, we have never said that every white person is our enemy, but it is what it is. The reality is the reality. Straight up. So, let us continue. Yes, community and self-improvement. Before we get into the meat of what I want to say about our open enemy, let me make sure I read this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in the self-improvement divinely guided study sessions, he wrote this for the opening. Remember, these study sessions, you can go to our universal website, our information engine, finalcall.com, and you can order these, get these study guides for yourself, for your home, for your family, for your community, for your church, okay? For your community meetings and so forth. It's divinely inspired study guide. It's not some academic course by some intellectual scholar. No, this is a divinely guided course to bring out the God within us while we're in the midst of a world that wants us to continue to bow to our low desires. Okay, so the minister wrote this. This is a few words from it. These words in the opening letter to the study guide material. Listen, he wrote, each study guide is designed on the guidance of Allah to produce self-examination, self-analysis, self-correction, and to quicken in each of us the self-accusing spirit. For it is only when we are awakened morally that we have to face the self-accusing spirit. For it is only spirit that leads to our resurrection. Resurrection is that process that begins with the self-accusing spirit and does not end until we become one in perfect harmony in peace with Allah and His creation. Okay. And I want to make sure that we focus on the point that when we are talking about our resurrection and then others, this is not nothing foreign, not nothing newly introduced and so forth. When the God in person taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad face to face, okay, he gave him a wisdom that will allow us to attract the entire human family after a growth process. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he gave us what is really our constitution. It is our beliefs and our wants, our points of beliefs and our points of what we want and so forth, okay? In point number 5, and this is introducing us to resurrecting self and then others. In point number 5, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote, we believe in the resurrection of the dead, not in the physical resurrection, but in the mental resurrection. We believe that the so-called Negroes are in most need of mental resurrection, and therefore they will be resurrected first, not second, not only them, but first, because a whole world will revolve. We are the catalyst. Look, let me give you a clue of how easy this is. The black man and woman here in North America, because you learning this, we are learning now to control our own creativity. So you have others now that's That's like getting kind of salty in their feelings about us wanting to control our own creativity. They like to actually put that false philosophy where, you know, we all the same, just a melting pot. That is because they don't want us to wake up to their mockery and mistreatment of us. You know, they don't want us to wake up to that. But we have a lot of hints about who we are, you know, and our glorious future. Okay, just look at hip hop today. But the enemy is trying to corrupt it and so forth, you know. But I tell you, if this wasn't the enemy's end today, in like what 50, 100 years, the people living would think that hip hop is a white, or started with white folks and so forth. That's how deceitful and determined, you know, the enemy is to try to erase us from the scene. But the God is on the scene today. Okay, in every community we see this enemy trying to continue to erase us, but he always run into checkmates. He always run into checkmates, no doubt. Okay, so this is where I wanted to go. Let me see here. Okay. So we will be resurrected first. Okay, because we are in most need of mental resurrection, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, as the exalted Christ said. Okay, as the messenger of Allah said. You know. Okay, and as his representatives has reintroduced to us, how can I say that? Actually institutionalizing the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad forever. Okay? So, we are to be resurrected first. Our particular plight, our particular troubles, okay? Our particular plight, our particular troubles are wrapped in what is called black codes, what is called white domestic terrorism, what is called racial massacres, what is called racial property seizures. Medical experimentations, okay? Sharecropping, convict leasing, Homestead Act exclusion, GI Bill exclusions, New Deal exclusions, urban renewal, and of course, bank redlining. Look, convict leasing, slavery in its worst aspects. I am reading from articles that Caucasians wrote. Okay, this was written just 2 years ago, and I got a few others here that was written this year. Okay, this year, a Caucasian named Aaron Blakemore, he wrote an article entitled "How the GI Bill Promise Was Denied to a Million Black World War II Veterans." Okay, a lot. Let me see. Before I get to the other one, let me see. Do I have anything? No. So, convict leasing, slavery in its worst aspects. A Caucasian named Ellen Terrell wrote this in 2021. There's a lot more too. Okay, first she starts with the 13th Amendment. She says, neither slavery, as we are familiar with, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within America or any place subject to their jurisdiction. That's Article 13, ratified or written February 1st, 1865. So they put in the Constitution why they wanted to continue with slavery. And this has trickled down to today. This is why this society is so diseased. Because they have never been healed from their slave mentality, so they create a system. Even in the workforce, okay, you have that system of slave and slave master, employee and employer. Well, it's an unfair system, and that is what we get with what is called capitalism. Some people like capitalism. Well, it definitely should be fair. Fair trade, and it definitely should be a kind of commercializing, But when you are so wicked and you know how to monopolize in your capitalism, then that capitalism has to go. Has to go. Because it just festers more of that. It festers more of that, Okay, so in this article, let me read a few points that she wrote in this article about slavery in its worst aspects. Oh man, let me see here. The nominal wages given to and this is, look, still today, what this enemy call it today is retroactive sentencing. Well, they got people, and then you'll see a news story every once in a while. In this day and time, because the enemy have not changed. The devil is the devil, no matter space nor time. In this day and time, they have people. You get little stories every once in a while. You get a news story. It probably be on CNN every once in a while. They want to give you a little piece to seem like they fair, but they're not fair. They're not fair. Where a brother. The lawyers found new evidence or new DNA where this brother who was accused of rape didn't do it, but he spent 50 years in jail. Other things like that too, okay? Like those brothers who they say murdered Malcolm X. Years later, new evidence came and so forth, and they wasn't there, they wasn't involved. They did decades behind prison, behind bars for this, okay? The enemy be knowing this, but they have what is called, and they're not playing about it, they have what is called the convict leasing system. They had it back then, they got it today, okay? But look, she makes this point. The nominal wages given to the prison laborers drives honest labor out of employment and into starvation. Many institutions in the late 1800s and early 1900s employed convict labor as a way to avoid strikes, shortages of labor, and high turnover. Convict leasing undermines competitive labor markets and decreases living standards by reducing wages and employment rates among the free population. Okay, let me read that over. Convict leasing, and what they do now, your license plates, a lot of your furniture made from prison labor, and they won't even allow these prisoners, which is mostly black men and Aboriginal people and so forth. They won't even allow these prisoners to make wages to probably take care of their families or their wife that's on the outside. Slave labor, convict leasing in 2023. Okay, and there's an article I read some time ago about some of these prisons getting into heated arguments and battles with some of the city representatives because they couldn't get the funding anymore that they was getting before. So if you're not familiar, they are trying to release more because they just can't maintain what they have been doing. The judgment and the end of this world in every station of life. In every station of life. Real talk. So Again, I start over. Convict leasing undermines competitive labor markets and decreases living standards by reducing wage and employment rates among the free population. Government use of prison labor can distort incentives for incarceration. Okay? Listen to this. Forced labor took many forms, including convict labor, debtor servitude, and debtor servitude. Self-made industrialists of the southern United States, including John T. Milner and James W. Sloss, built their wealth and industries on this labor. So look, man, you thinking these people filthy rich, you know, they got all this money and so forth, and then they'll get on these economic shows, C-SPAN, and talk about, yeah, you gotta work hard, you gotta be dedicated. So no, they were thieves, man, that got in that position, that got that wealth and so forth. This is why the Bible talks about Allah's hand being set against the wealth of Pharaoh and his people. Okay, this is why today you see what is called, well, many of us may not be familiar, but it's called BRICS. It's a new economic system that has dropped the dollar. The dollar was the main medium of exchange around the world, but South Africa and others, you know, China and others, they have dropped the dollar now. They want to trade with something else. It's going on. It's going down. Okay, this modern Babylon is over. Okay, we have to get enough sense to prepare ourselves, and that is by studying. That is by requisite questions, clear explanations, and exposing ourselves to inexhaustible wisdom. Real talk. So, what was I at? Yes. Self-made industrialists of southern United States, including John T. Milner and James W. Sloss, built their wealth and industries on this labor. Much of the country's infrastructure, encompassing roads, railroads, buildings, and levees, were built out of this abusive system. Out of this abusive system. Real talk. You know, I just want to remind people the importance of studying the Final Call newspaper, you know, and the back articles and so forth, and the minister's articles, and his stance, you know, from 1978 until now and so forth. And the second Final Call newspaper that came out 79, okay. Final Call newspaper is a continuation of Muhammad Speaks, okay. But the second Final Call newspaper, I ordered it from the information engine finalcall.com, and I laminated it for myself. This is laminated, okay. There we go. And this was in 1979. The minister talked about our people's crucifixion and what they did to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the nation, and why it quote unquote fell. Okay, he put on the cover of this second Final Call a cross with a black man on the cross. Okay, and it said at the bottom, at the bottom, it's the American landscape, 2,000 by 3,000 miles, and then it says why. And then on the side of that, it has the conspirators. Listen to this. It has the conspirators that came against us, but we are back up now. Black people are back up now. It has the conspirators. He put here the white man, the silly African, and the Arab. Okay, and then he explains how all of them was used by our open enemy, some willingly, some unwillingly, some wittingly, some unwittingly. Okay, very important. In this newspaper, he talks about the crucifixion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. So you get, I mean, when that kind of thing is done and then people don't get the information, you get young black folks today that are just so unaware and they think they hip by being lock and step with white people. No, you not. You know, you are an eyesore, but you're going to learn this though. Okay? You're going to learn it, but you can learn quicker if you just protect yourself to reading and listening. You know, trying to absorb information that's not of the grain of what you are listening to. It's available. It's available. Okay? Anyway, let me read that again. His article in this newspaper was The Crucifixion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Written by Mr. Louis Farrakhan, national spokesman for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Messenger of Allah. So in this article, he lays down the plans, the Herald, Pharaoh, and Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, okay? Hoover's counterintelligence program. He lays down a lot, and then he mentions in excellent detail these persons: Marcus Garvey, Stokely Carmichael, Malcolm X, who else? Patrice Lumumba, Dr. King, Kwame, how do you pronounce that? Kwame Nkrumah, and others, and Noble Drew Ali. Okay, so we have a great study to undertake today. We have a great study to get more into that. We have a great study to study so that we can be at ease going against the grain. We can be at ease not being the kind of person that will go along to get along with something just because they are in authority or they have the sway or whatever. That's very dangerous. You know, we have to develop to not go along just to get along. What for? What for? When you like that, you are a coward, man. Why you even want to talk about black community meetings and so forth and voting and all this stuff when you are scared, man, and you just go on to get along because, you know, we don't have, you know, there are some of us, man, that's into politics and got some kind of political pull or position among white folks and so forth. And we got a house, we got a car, we got ways that our money come. And we don't want to anger the enemy. To hell with the enemy. Allah controls all of that, man. You know, we just got to go through our ups and downs, our ebbs and flows as he destroys this dude. Real talk. You know, and again, I'm not saying it's because we are saying that every white person, white individual is an enemy. We have never said that. We have never said that every white individual is our enemy. But hey, you know, the dominant condition is, you know, we got to be on code because we don't know who is who and what is what. This is why they gentrify the community because you get some whites that just play it real cool while these other whites are planning to take the land, planning to do this, planning to put you in jail. But then the other ones will play it real cool. It's like that bad cop, good cop psychology. They that. So, you know, even though there are good ones among them, we got to be on code. We got to be on code, as our brother Tariq Nasheed always say. Being on code. Being on code, man. Real talk. Real talk. Okay? So, where are we at here? Okay? Let us talk about, we got 5 minutes left. I want to talk about, briefly, the return of lost land, lost family land, the return of black people's stolen land, okay? African American families across the country, particularly in the South, are pushing for a return of land they say was taken in government seizures. An emergent attempt to provide economic restoration for the long saga of black land loss and deprived inheritances. Okay? They want the land ought to be paid current market value. In some cases, families are asking for acknowledgement of the harm done as a way to return their history to public memory. You see, they want to erase this stuff. That's why this cat, what's that cat, Governor whatever, Santos up in Florida, he want to stop black history from being taught in schools because he don't want people to know about slavery and all this stuff. All this stealing and deceit and so forth, because that's what they stand on today. It's not going to go away. You have been destroyed for this. You have been destroyed for this. Okay? And you are so hard-hearted, you are continuing. It's like a person, it's like it, man, I'm telling you. It's just like the Die Hard movie. With Bruce Willis, all parts. You know, when you got a person, man, who know he losing, but he gonna keep going because he a diehard. He's a diehard. You know, I guess this may be why the Bible said, wake up the mighty men of war. Wake up the mighty men of war. You know, I guess it can't be avoided. I guess it can't be avoided. So, let me see here. What else do we have? Oh boy, this subject can go for a few hours, most definitely. So probably when Allah willing, if when I'm on live again, I'll probably do a part 2 to this subject specifically, you know. But I gotta go over this part very, very well to actually see where I stopped at in this part, you know. Anyway. Scholars say the use, oh man, remember what I'm saying now, we're not writing these articles. Caucasians are writing these articles. These are recent articles, okay? Recent articles. This right here was written June 14, 2023 by a Audrey D.S. Birch. I got you. Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Real quick, scholars say the use of eminent domain was often racially motivated and invoked disproportionately in minority and poor communities. One study showed that between 1949 and 1973, 2,532 eminent domain projects in 992 cities displaced 1 million people, 2/3 of them African Americans. What about now? This is why you can go to any city and say, oh, black folks used to live over there. But they lost their homes. They got tricked out of their homes and so forth. They used to live over there. In Tacoma, you had an area was all black. Here, of course, Northeast, all black and so forth. From my own ignorance, the enemy came in and did what he did. Anyway, though, I thank you so much for listening. We got, okay. Please continue to watch and listen. I want to read one more thing. We got enough time. For many black families, the loss of property stripped by deceit, violence, or using eminent domain and often sold below market prices was regulated to bittersweet memories and cautionary tales. We are talking about the loss of heritage in history. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.